Welcome, my dear students. This is Dr. Osama Kashu, and we are going to a new part of the purchasing curriculum which you have today. And I will go for sharing the screen. Now we shared the screen already. So here we go for our parts. It's chapter 11. Chapter 11. So I will go directly to the parts which I want in chapter 11. And here we will go first the prices vs costs or total cost analysis. Price analysis is the commodities and the generics quadrants. Cost analysis, unique and critical uh, products quadrants. Total cost analysis, all quadrants, all of them together. So on this chapter, we will have 17 and page 18 as well. So here we have the supplier market and the buyer market, they intersect. Market-based pricing means how will the prices will be determined in the markets by the intersection of the demand and the supply. Here is the demand, here is the supply. So when they intersect in a point, this point, here is the quantity or the volume of products, as example, 10 units, and with the price, let's say the price is $20 on this axis. So the market-based pricing means the determinant of the supply and the intersect of the supply curve and the demand curve in one point will determine the market-based price. Now we'll go to another one, which is the types of markets which we have. So we have a monopoly market. The monopoly means single supplier markets. Only there is one supplier in the market, so he is having a power all over the market. He can determine the prices. Okay, unique product with no substitutes. There are no substitutes for him, and only controlled by one or few, or we can say one. One is more better to say one producer. Okay, eligibly, a few large suppliers. Here it's not like the monopoly, but eligibly is there are more than one supplier, but still pricing strategies often supplier influence others in the industries. So the supplier here is having also power in the determining the prices of the market. How about the perfect competition? The perfect competition markets, in that way, you cannot affect on the market. You as a supplier, you will never affect because there are a lot of buyers and sellers, a lot of similar products, standardized products, all of them do the same functions, and they are very similar to each other. And the consumer in the perfect competition know very well the price is determined by the intersection of the supply and demand in the perfect competition. Price is slowly function of supply and demand, is a solely function of supply and demand. We'll go after this to economic conditions on page 20. Conditions favorable to supplier, like the high level of capacity utilization, tight supplies, strong demand. Those are very good for the supplier because when there's a good demand, supplier will increase his productivity and the way he will supply in the markets. Conditional, this are favorable to the buyer in that case, not the supplier. So the supplier is a producer and the buyer is supplier is the supply or the supply, but the buyer represent the demand. Buyer represent the demand. Low level of capacity utilization, high level of suppliers, weak demand. This is for, okay, those are the market conditions. We'll go now to page, we need page 21. So on page 21, analyzing supplier pricing. Does the supplier have a long-term or short-term pricing strategy? What will he do, the supplier? Is having those, okay. Is the supplier price leader or price follower? Our supplier is a pioneer in the market. He put the prices and other suppliers follow him, or he's a price follower means other companies as a pioneers, they put the prices and he follows them. The supplier attempting to establish entry barriers. Is the supplier having a control on the market to the limit that he can put entry barriers to the market, means a new suppliers cannot compete him, cannot roll into the markets, or no? Is the supplier using a cost-based or market-based approach in the two cases? So this was another thing which I want to say in chapter 11. Now I will move into forward into the another slide which is very important here. Uh, yeah, we have more important slides here. 43. Let's go to 43. 43 is telling me opportunities for cost reduction. As a supplier and as a buyer as well, I just want always to reduce the costs. So I can do this: plant utilization, plant capabilities, learning curve effect. The more you have skilled workers, the more they are effective and they're more skillful, so the less the costs of production, because time is money. There won't be wasting in time, there won't be wasting in supply materials, as long as you have a very skillful, learned, well learned laborers or workers. Suppliers workforce, how they are, of course, because this also do the cost reduction. The more the suppliers work cost, the less the work, the cost reduction. Management capabilities and the skills of the management can affect on the costs and reduce the costs. Purchasing efficiency also. If I am having a kind of negotiations and I am very good in purchasing, so I will look for the lowest costs to get my own materials. Also, insights from break-even analysis. The break-even analysis will tell me what is the quantity in which there are no losses and no gains. This is the break-even analysis. Assumption of break-even analysis, that we have fixed costs which is always the same, but the variable costs is increasing. The more I increase the production, the more the variable costs will be. Uh, So here we have, this is the break-even analysis. And I just want to say on the equilibrium point here. So we have here the fixed costs, and it showed that the fixed costs are 30,000. It never changed. And we have also the variable costs. The variable costs will increase with the production. And we have the total revenue, which is the red line. The total revenue represent the red line, which is the sales volume multiplied by the price of each unit. So if I sell 100 units and each unit I sold for $15, that means $1,500. The break-even point is the point where the total costs intersect with the total revenues. Again, the break-even point is the point where the total costs in the yellow line, the total costs, which consists of the fixed plus the variable costs. This is the total costs, fixed and variable costs. The total cost will equal the total revenues. In this point, this is the break-even point. Break-even point, I have here 7,500 units. With the units, 7,500 units. And for the price, each unit of them will cost 75,000. Or the 7,500 units, their own revenues will be 70, as long as one unit will be sold for $10, then 7,500 units multiplied by the $10, because this is a price unit, then it will give me 75,000. So this is the break even. In this point, there are no losses and there are no gains. We don't have losses, we don't have gains. In this point, we don't have losses, we don't have gains. But after this point, we have gains or profits. Before this point, we have losses. So this area is area of losses. And this area after the point is area of profits. What is the helpful of the break even for me? It show me exactly the point where my losses equals my gains, or in this point there are no gains and no losses. By other meaning, if I increase the production, by this point, or if I increase the supplying by this point, then I will start to gain profits. Before this point, if I stop supplying or production, then there will be losses. So in this point, no gains, no losses. Break-even analysis will help the management to decide this point where they know after I should increase my production more or my supplying more than this unit, so I will make profits. Again, this is in quantity 7,500 units, chocolates, cars, or whatever. Each unit is for $10. Then the total revenue will be 7,500 multiplied by $10, 7,500 units time $10. This will give me total revenue of $75,000. In this point, no gains, no losses. I did not earn, I did not have profits in this point, and I didn't lose in this point. This is the meaning of break-even analysis. Thank you. We'll go back, and this is the way how to do it. And when the net income, so I will do here the same like this. This is the price minus this is for the forecasting, and it will give me this amount. Anyhow, this is what I want in this point. I will look for also we have to know what is the meaning of the word opportunity cost. Opportunity cost means the cost of doing something, what you sacrificed with. As example, you are a student. You are a student now. And if you are in exam times and you will stop working and you are working, you are a student and working. So in exam time, you have to stop working so that you will prepare yourself for the exam. Let's say you earn for a day $300 or $200 for a day. Then you will stop working for 3 days, means $200 for a day by 3. That means $600. You lost $600 because you prefer to sit at home and study. So the opportunity cost of studying is $600. What you sacrifice with. Define as the cost of the next best alternative. Example, lost sales, lost productivity, downtime. Like exactly what I'm telling you, you lost the time off because you want to study. Factors to be considered: use only for evaluating larger, obtain senior management by work in teams, focus on the big costs first, obtain a realistic estimate of the life cycle. This was the end of chapter 11, and the points what I want you to know from here is the break-even analysis, which is very important, and the meaning of the opportunity cost. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Welcome, my dear students. This is chapter 13. We are going to work on it today, and I will start with the slides which I need here from this chapter. Slide number 4. What is the meaning of negotiations? A process of formal communication, either face-to-face or via electronic means, like the computers, using the computers or whatever. Because we want to come together to seek mutual agreement about an issue or an issues. Involves the negotiation involves the management of time, information, and power between the individuals and organizations as a whole. We'll go after this to number 5. What is the negotiation about? It is a relationship between people and not just organizations, between the people themselves. And it's an art of persuasion, how to persuade the others to accept your ideas. And negotiation skills can be honed and practiced. So the negotiation, you can improve the way you are negotiating through the practicing and through the skills and through learning. It's not something inherited or something is very hard to do it. Um, B and TA means use of negotiations. Those are B for best, A for alternative, T for the two, and N for negotiated, and A for agreement. It's about the positions, interests, needs, and wants. So those are the 4 points which do the negotiations. And here we go after this into slide number 12. Here we go. And this is very important, the triangle talk, or what I will negotiate about. The step one, know what you want. So when I go for negotiations, there are the 3 phases which I have to prepare in myself to plan for before any negotiations. First one, know exactly what you want. Then step two, know exactly what they want, the other party which you would negotiate with. Then the third step is propose actions in the way they can accept. Check out what they can accept, do what will come to the middle of the bridge, what will come to the middle of the bridge, or what will you do. Still we are in chapter 13. Then we will go to slide number 20. Here we go. The negotiation framework on page 16 is very important for us to know. The negotiation, identify or anticipate a purchase requirement. What do you want? Because the negotiation is now about the purchasing. We moved into the negotiations. We applying the negotiations on the purchasing process. So first thing, identify or anticipate a purchase requirement. That's fine. Second, determine if the negotiation is required. Third, plan for the negotiations. Fourth, conduct the negotiation. Fifth, execute the agreement. In number 4, you are moving into action. So number 5, then you will do the agreements after the negotiations is done. We'll go to slide number 20 and we'll see when to negotiate. What are the needs for negotiations? We need to negotiate when identifying low allowable costs. We want to talk about the costs, delivery schedules, times of delivery. You will give me after 1 month. The supplier said, no, I want it within 15 days. So I'm negotiating to make it 15 days instead of 1 month to receive my inputs or raw materials. Expected products and services quality level. The level of the quality, is it high quality, low quality? So you are negotiating to know, to get what you want. Performance metrics, the measures and the standards, is it high quality, low quality, whatever. Technological support needs, contract volumes, how much the amount of what you want, you are negotiating for it. Special packaging, if you need to negotiate about special packaging for your products or for your inputs or for the raw materials which you will bring from the supplier. Loss and damage liabilities, and payment terms and currency issues. So all those are things which you care about when you talk about the negotiations. We'll go after this to slide 21. Also, still, we're completing about negotiations, process payment schedules, transportation. All these are areas of negotiations. Carrier selections, filling freight claims, warranties, capacity issues, material lead time. The lead time is the time between your order till you receive your stuff. Penalty clauses, you want to add penalty clauses in case that you didn't deliver me in this time. Then there are, as example, there will be a penalty off in the contract. Performance as punishment. Penalty means punishment. Performance incentives, like what are the in case if you did all I need in the time, then you will take incentives. Contract lengths, also contract renewal mechanism, this is another point. And in proprietary information, anything belong to the information which I need about the product or the raw materials which you as a supplier will afford me, so I have to know any information regarding it. This was about page 21. Then we'll move into page 23. Reasons for negotiation actually is very important. Total contract value or volume is large. Purchasing involves complex technical requirements. Okay, those are reasons why I negotiate. And purchases involves capital intensive plant and equipment. All those might be reasons why. I will go after this to 29. 29 point of focus on define the issues of your negotiation. Define the negotiation mix, defining interests, your interest, defining objectives. All these things will help you when you come to negotiate. Assessing constitute and social context, analyzing the other party, know whom you will negotiate with. Try to find out, is he good, stubborn, or whatever. Planning issues, presentation and defense, defending protocols where to negotiate are the ideas of negotiations. We'll move into 34 and we'll check out what do you mean by the power in negotiation. What is the power in negotiation actually? Um, Power is the ability to influence another person on organization. You have how you will affect, influence, and make them convinced with your own ideas. Power by itself is neither good or bad. It is the application or use of power that it makes it good or bad. Source of negotiating power as well. So, what is the source of the negotiating power? Are you having, as example, the oil countries? They have the power of the oil. When they negotiate, they have a strong background or a strong standing because they have something that the world is missing or other countries are missing. This is how it goes like. On 35, sources of negotiation power. Here we will come now to what I was talking about. Sometimes when you negotiate, you have a power. You have a power behind you. It's unseen power, but everyone will put a consideration for it. Like what? Informational power. If you have informational power, you have reward power, that you will reward the person who will do this for you. If I tell my son, okay, you don't want to go, if I will give you $10 to go to this place, then in that case I had a reward power. I will give him $10 to do it, so he will do it because I have a reward power. Coercive power also, legitimate powers like the powers of the law or whatever. Expert power, I have more ideas, I'm more experienced than you, then I have a power to convince you. If we are both working in one place and you are new and I'm old, and I'm senior and you are junior in this work, so I will tell you, do this. So in negotiation, I have a power because I will, with my own experience, you will obey me. You will obey me. So I will come to convince you based on my own past experience. Reference power also, because this is like if you have references to you, this is power. As example, if you are applying for a job and you have reference letters, those reference letters will make the interviewer, like, suppose them that it's a kind of negotiations, then when he see these references, he will be convinced. The negotiation at the end is a kind of convince the other party to do what you want. This is in simple what do you mean by negotiation. And we'll go now to page 46, which I believe is very important also. The tactics. What are you going to use when you negotiate? What are the tactics which you will use when you negotiate? Actually, we have lowball, we have honesty and openness, we have questions, we have caucus, we have trial balance, we have price increase, we have high ball, we have best and final offer, we have silence, just to keep silence, planned, and we have planned concession, and we have venue. Those are all ways for convincing and for negotiation. We have uh, reciprocation, we have consistency, we have social proof, we have linking, we have authority, we have scarcity, and all those also are power of inflation. Uh, by this, we came to the end of this chapter 13. And the main important points, we talk about the negotiations today. So I want you to um, have those questions, which I will write just now, and we will answer it by the end of this class. What did you came to learn? By the end, by the end of this class, by the end of this lecture, what did you come to know about negotiations? You will sum up all what you came to know about negotiations at the end of this class here in this part. Please write it down in your notes and try to check out without looking at the books. What did you come to know today about the arts of negotiations? I'm appreciating. Thank you so much, guys. And this was the end of chapter 13. Chapter 13. Welcome, my dear students. This is Dr. Osama Kashwa, and this is chapter 14. Today we are going to handle chapter 14 about the, let's go and see from the notes itself. And we will work on it and see what we're going to do here. For the moment, here we go. Okay, so this was chapter, we start now chapter 14, 1-4, and here we go. And here it is, the Stanford. This is the points, PowerPoint, and this is chapter 14. So in chapter 14 here, I would like to share the screen and see, yeah, share our screen. It's fine. On chapter 14, I will go to special pages like page number 5, slide number 5. Slide number 5 is telling me actually, what does a purchase contract do? What about the purchase contract? This chapter is about the contract management. By the way, let me go back. It's about the contract management. So the contracts, we'll talk about the contracts now. So what does a purchase contract do? Establish the terms and the conditions, because so that everything will be clear from the start. Everyone will know what he has to do and what he ought not to do. Define the types of relationship between the partners. Provide a way for the parties to obtain mutual benefits. Represents the understanding of the parties. So those are the reasons why we do the purchase contracts. On page 6, elements of purchase contract. This is very important and very important question as well. What are the elements of purchase contract? It is introduction, the definitions of the purchaser, the supplier, which we want the supplier want to put. He put some definitions for things. Scope of agreements, the area of the agreement, purchase orders, and should be also including the number, supply and delivery, how the supply will be, how the delivery will be, would be FOB, free on board, or loco or franco, based on the system of the delivery, supply and delivery, and specification, quantity, the quantity which you want to buy, the health, safety, and environment, if this your product is friendly environment or whatever. So here is page 6, and in page 7, elements of purchasing contract, the payment, the liability, the force measure, the effective date and termination, when to terminate and what the effective date. The intellectual properties also is very important. Those are the elements of the purchase contract. So assignment and contracting and technology improvement will be included as well. So those are points which is very important for the purchase contract. On slide number 8 here, the elements of purchase contract still continued. Most favor customers, confidentially, statistics, key performance indicator and the compensations, notices if there are, severability if there are. Those were the things which we have to care about in the purchase contract, or the elements of the purchase contract. Also, we'll have here page, still we are talking about the elements of purchase contract: third-party rights, free trade areas, minority or woman-owned business enterprises, general governing law, signatures, appendices. All this will be involved in the purchase contract as elements of it. We have also number 10, which tell me how to write a contract, often modified from earlier agreement. Start with general form and or for sample contracts. Get advice from corporate counsels. Don't start write a contract by yourself. You have to check other people. How did they do? And try to see a role model and just imitate them like a benchmark, and you just go and imitate them for what they are doing. We'll go to slide number 14 now. Types of contracts is very important. Very important. What are the types of contracts? So we have fixed price contracts, firm fixed price. This aspect of the fixed price contracts. The price of the firm is fixed, does not change. Fixed price contracts with escalation means fixed but escalate, like $20 for the first 20,000 units, then $30 for the second 50,000 units. Fixed price contracts with redetermination, fixed price contracts with incentives, bonuses. If you bought, as example, 10,000 units, I will give you 2% discount. If you bought 20,000 units, I will give you 3% discount, and so on. Still, we are in the types of contracts on page 15, and we have here cost-based contracts. Means the contract is based on the costs, okay? Cost plus incentive fees, cost-sharing contracts, time and material contracts, and cost plus fixed fee contracts. So all those are types of contracts which we have to know about. Now let's go to the slide number 29, and contract's length is very important in the contract to know the contract length itself. So based on the duration of time, is this contract for 1 year, for 1 month, for one delivery only, based on the contract itself. So we have a contract length, spot contracts, those purchases that are made on non-occurring or limited basis. So just for the spot, just for now, a contract for now. Short-term contracts, contract purchases that are routinely made over a relatively limited horizon for a limited time, small time, okay? But it usually is less than 1 year, quarterly or semi-yearly or semi-annually or something. Long-term contracts made on continuing basis for a specified identified period. The period of the long-term contracts, is always over 1 year. The period of the long-term contracts is over 1 year. So this was about the, let's go for slide number 30. If there is benefits for long-term contracts more than the short-term, of course, the long-term contracts is having many benefits, like assurance of supply, because you will always, if I did a contract with you for 5 years, I'm quite sure that you will supply me for the next 5 years with the raw materials which I need. And this is more better than just a contract for 2 months. Then I will put my hands and check out from where I will bring the next needs for me. This will guarantee for me totally assurance of supply for a long time. So the long-term contracts are better in this point. Access to supplier technology, that's fine. Access to cost price information, because I will know about the pricing, and I will take deductions, and I will take discounts as a buyer. I will take discounts. Volume leveraging, supplier receives better information for planning, of course, because when the supplier is with you for 4 years or 5 years, as example, he will know your needs as a buyer more than if he know you only for just for the spots, just like as a like take and go, or a small agreements like 1 month agreement or 2 months. When he's long lasting with you, everlasting with you, or for a long time, the supplier will know the purchaser's needs. This is also another point, and risk in long, but there are still, though we have uh, benefits of the long-term contracts, but still there are some risk in long-term contracts. Like we talk about the advantages, still there are disadvantages for the risk in long-term contracts. What are the risk? Supplier opportunism, that's right. And selecting the wrong supplier. If I selected the wrong supplier and I signed a contract with him for 5 years, then I'm in a very bad situation. Supplier volume uncertainty. You cannot guarantee what will happen in next 2 years or 3 years. You don't know if this supplier will have to afford you what you want, or he cannot afford provide you your essential needs, which you need from as a buyer. Supplier forgoes other business. If the suppliers was practicing in other business and he left the business, like supplying your needs or your materials, so you are as a buyer will find out that you have been, what's happening? I made a contract with him for 5 years, but he changed his activities already. So for what I will do now, buyer is unreasonable. This is also another problem from the buyer's side. We will go now to page 40 actually, about one of the types of the contracts, which is called construction contracts. Construction contracts. It depends on some aspects for it, like sequences of events, stated completion period, like it will have a completion period from the start of building as example till the end of the building. Overhead costs. The overhead costs mean the costs which you cannot directly trace it to either its direct cost or whatever. No, you cannot give the share of each of this overhead cost to the unit produced, the cost of unit produced. Okay, so it's sometimes like the labor's costs, some of it is involved in overhead costs. Safely requirements, substantial cost summaries, contractors' claims, and liquidated damages clauses. Those are things in the construction contracts. Um, Other types of contracts are like purchasing agreements, online catalogs, and e-commerce contracts. This also goes in it. And uh, types of purchasing agreement. This is very important, guys. The types of purchasing agreement. This is very important. This may be the most important part here in this chapter. Annual contracts, national contracts, corporate agreements, national buying agreements, blanket orders, pricing agreements, and open-ended orders. Those are the types of purchasing agreements. Um, shall I stop here? Thank you so much for listening to me, and we'll go to the next chapter. Thank you. This was chapter 14. This was chapter 14. Thank you so much.